What's up, guys? So this is going to be a bit of a beast video, and essentially it's going to go over the real reason why you're not booking appointments for your service-based business or agency month over month predictably. Even if you've hired a lead generation agency that sort of knows what they're doing on their end, why are you still not getting results? And it's essentially down to your core marketing message, otherwise known as your offer. Now, I'm sure you've consumed plenty of offer trainings in the past. And the reason I labeled this as advanced is not because I believe I'm an expert, not even close. And I don't believe in that school of thought anyway. I think if you're passionate about something, you're always a student. The reason why I labeled it as advanced is because this is not like a rehash of, some just basic stuff, that's just been lifted from Hormozy's $100 million offers or other competitors. And actually, the reason I made this was because a lot of the offer training I do see out there, I just think doesn't go into anywhere near the amount of detail that's required for a good fundamental understanding. And also, when I have been prospecting, for example, offering B2B lead generation services, that's part of what I do. I've had many people say, oh yeah, man, cold email didn't work, cold DMs didn't work, paid ads didn't work. And I asked them, well, why? What are you offering? What's your, what problem are you solving? And they come back at me and they say, oh yeah, we do Facebook ads or email marketing or social media management or whatever. And that's your problem right there. That's not an offer. That's not a real problem that you're solving, especially in 2024. That's not a legitimate business. It's not a viable go-to-market strategy is what we call it. And essentially what I've done is gathered my own insights and in my own words, to the best of my ability, put on this document what I understand from the ground up. So if we're starting at the the baseline and building up all the way to a more advanced level of understanding that I think the majority of the market don't have, this is what I would, this is the way that I would describe it and frame it. This is actually something that I only offer to clients. So, people who pay me 5 figures or multi-5 figures to work with me, but I wanted to put this video out. I don't know if I'll take it down in the future, but I want to put it out for now. Let's get into it. So, when we're talking about engineering a go-to-market strategy, essentially, before we strap on any type of scalable appointment booking system into a service-based business, for example, your marketing agency, you need to break down the offer into its core components and package into a core marketing message, right? Your core sales argument or the reason for your business existing. Something that can resonate with cold traffic, meaning someone that has no idea who you are. This is crucial if you are to scale your offer to your total addressable market and engineer a viable go-to-market strategy. So with that said, I'm going to cover not all of these points. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I have no idea how long this video is going to be. Let's just find out. So we're going to start with the theory behind actually turbo scaling a service-based business. What have I personally observed from the guys that do it really quickly to the people that stagnate and cannot break past certain revenue levels? And it really comes down to this quote here. So first-time founders are obsessed with product. Second-time founders are obsessed with distribution. What does that mean? What the quote above us essentially means is as long as your service or your product is actually pretty good, all that matters is that you get more eyeballs on it. That's all that matters. There's no point being the best product or the best service on the market because unless you are reaching thousands and thousands of people per day and people actually know about your product, it's all irrelevant. So the major problem with any small business is obscurity. Not enough people know who you are. And this is especially true for high-ticket service-based businesses because word of mouth never really spreads virally in this environment. Consumables, digital, physical products, those can have word of mouth spread for them virally. Okay, so like if a product is really good, you're going to tell your friends and family about it. It's just the way it works. But for a high-ticket service-based business, if you're charging, 20 to 100K in terms of customer lifetime value for your service, the amount of people that are going to be able to afford to purchase that thing is much smaller than the number of people that can, for example, buy a book or buy some type of consumable, right? So this is why B2B marketing is a very different ball game from B2C. So the reality is that the world is much larger than most business owners perceive. And even your specific niche, the group of people that are targeting, that you're targeting with your particular service, it is way, way bigger than you think. So, your business with a 10 to 15 client roster, it's not even a drop in the ocean if your TAM is 50,000 strong. What you have is not a small business, you have a micro business. You're literally a micro business, not even a small business. And this is why distribution must be mastered. This is the whole point. This is what direct response advertising actually is, and the whole point of it, and the reason why you need to get good at it as a business owner if you want to scale. And the importance of having a marketing system that allows for effective distribution and provides a strong ROI on your investment is essentially this. If you put in $1, you want to get $3 or more out. So I'm sure you've seen this equation before. It essentially means that your lifetime revenue for a customer needs to be at least 3 times greater than your cost to actually acquire that customer. So if it costs you $1 to acquire a customer, hypothetically, you want them to bring in $3 or more into your business. So every month, your goal is to actually make your advertising and marketing budget go up. And your sole goal should be to spend more money on your marketing and on your advertising whilst satisfying profitability metrics. So this one, but there's also others. I go into that in a previous video, but I'll be making more videos on that in this channel in the future. And that's the whole game. The whole game is to increase the inputs, i.e. your marketing budget, whilst ensuring that enough output is also being generated. So what does this mean for your marketing message? So in order to start acquiring customers at scale, you need 2 things. The first is you need to make your offer cold friendly or cold converting. What this means is essentially, running cold email, running ads, running any type of outbound cold traffic to any offer that does not stand out in the market, has no unique value proposition, is going to fall flat. And the reason for this is people are savages with cold traffic. Why? Well, they will literally give you 2 to 3 seconds to determine what's in it for me. And that's all they care about. What's in it for me? When they read something, when they scroll your ad, read your email, read your outbound DM, what's in it for me? Because even if you have a brand of like 100,000 people strong, the majority of the market is still not going to know who you are, and they don't care. They don't care about your brand because they haven't heard about you. There are people that in this world who don't know who Alex Hormozi is, who don't know who Grant Cardone is, so who don't know who Gary Vee is. So if you've got a micro brand, the chances are the vast majority of your market is going to have no clue who you are, and they're not going to care, which is why you need to master cold marketing to cold traffic. And this is what direct response basically is. So, and this is the game. This is why, from what I've observed, some business owners just scale effortlessly month over month, and others, they just wrestle their way to a certain revenue level and they stagnate for months at a time. So the whole game of cold traffic is you want to get a stranger to turn into a new onboarded happy client in 14 days or less. That is sort of the gold standard length of sales cycle, in particular for middle market lifetime values, right? For B2B services like agencies. So what you need to do here is you do this through dialing in a superior outbound marketing system, right? There are really 2 forms of outbound. There's leveraging automation. So that's sort of cold email, cold DMs at scale. And there's also leveraging media buying. You're purchasing data, you're purchasing guaranteed reach. But the very heart of any marketing system is actually your core message, and that's the offer itself. That's what we're going into in this training. So what are we actually offering to our niche? So this is the group of people who have the problem that we solve. And in order to make our offer cold converting, we need to so we've been through number 1, make your offer cold friendly or cold converting. The second is we need to understand actually how to construct this offer from the ground up. So with this, we have this quite hilarious situation, I think, where a lot of people, especially in the agency game, we have supposedly read or consumed Alex Hormozi's content and like, other similar types of individuals. We've seen his YouTube videos, but barely anyone actually understands how to apply this stuff properly. It's this thing where you hear these certain buzzwords, you think, oh yeah, I know about that, but actually you don't, because it's not resulted in a behavior change. If you have consumed some information and you have failed to apply and execute it, and that has not resulted in a behavior change and an actual change in your business, that means you haven't actually learned anything. So in this training, like I said in the intro, I'm going to go over in my own words what I've learned from him, but also many, many other mentors, both virtual and in person, reading original texts, books like Breakthrough Advertising, and sort of everything in between. And in my best words, I'm going to explain to you in as much detail as possible the whole game of offer construction and then distributing that offer as well. Because the reality is most business owners, they don't fully understand everything about their offer. Some business owners are more sophisticated than others, but in most cases, people don't understand everything that there is to know, especially when it comes to marketing, to cold traffic and cold acquisition in particular. Because the truth is, being skilled at service delivery and knowing how to scale your current offer to your total addressable market, they're completely two different things. And it's the difference between, in my opinion, a self-employed individual where their business sort of dictates their life to transitioning into a proper business owner that has systems in place throughout their business and their business serves them. So I truly believe, if you skip this part, your outbound prospecting machine, your advertising machine will not be anywhere near as effective, and you're just not going to be able to scale your business. So in a nutshell, what we want is an offer that pierces the market and will allow you to do these four things, right? Charge higher prices, collect more cash up front, drop your cost to actually acquire a customer, and increase your profitability. And you want to do all of these things whilst scaling at the same time and being able to scale rapidly as well. So, of course, footnote, if you haven't already, go ahead and read up on $100 million offers, or you can go and watch the free course on Hormozy's site. It's probably still the best resource I've personally seen on getting clued up with all of this as fast as possible. So with that said, we are going to go on to the next point, which is actually engineering a cold converting offer and the core elements to this. Okay, so your offer can be broken down into 4 parts. Okay, so it's who you're helping, or your start point, defining your start point, where you're taking them to, which is your end point, what is required to get them there, so this is your customer journey, and number 4 is how you're going to make that happen. So this is your mechanism or your process, right? Your actual, the product development side of things. So part 1 is who you're helping, i.e. what is your start point. So the first thing to note here is your ICP, or your ideal client persona, which is something that we want to flesh out in detail at the start of this process, does not equal your niche. Your niche is a group of people that have the problem you solve. An ICP is a specific subsegment of people within your niche that are clearly better suited to one of your offer or a specific delivery mechanism over another. Okay, so for example, a niche would be fitness for busy professionals. An ICP would be fitness for married male CEOs / execs aged 30 to 50 in the US. Okay, that's more specific, and you can immediately see, right, you have a clear image of what that type of person would be and what their day-to-day is like. Therefore, you can immediately appreciate that writing copy, catering a marketing message to that individual is much easier. And therefore, designing a product or service for that individual is going to be much easier. So this is a really important point that I've learned as well. You should be closing anyone who is in your niche, has the problem you solve, and has the money to pay you. But the way in which you deliver on your solution, to include your price points, your transformations, those will be different according to what ICP they actually belong to. Just going to correct that there. So essentially, in other words, different ICPs means different offers are actually required, each with their own separate client journey and defined endpoint or transformation. I'll give you an example of what my offer actually looks like at the moment. So ICP1 is the full done-for-you offer. It's kind of like the core service that I have, and it's for established agency owners or online service providers with strong case studies doing over 60K per month. Revenue criteria is especially important in B2B, right? It's a core kind of feature that distinguishes B2B from B2C. However, the second ICP would essentially, I would have a downsell for the main offer that has minimal operational drag. It's not a different package. It's essentially the same thing, but is more suited to agency owners that have less of a budget and are slightly earlier on in their journey. You could also later on engineer a done with you consulting offer for sort of even more sort of beginner or beginner people or people that don't have as much of a budget in your target market. But I always recommend to do that last, because once you have a full done for you service dialed in, it's much easier to actually roll out a consulting or done with you package instead of vice versa. So, okay, determining your start point and end point. Our starting point is crucial because it shapes the entire trajectory of our offer. So think of your avatar as a starting point in your offer, who they are, and when they initiate work with you. So the transformation you provide represents the ending point, justifying why they invested in your services and the destination that you're guiding them towards. So again, understanding your start point is crucial, because without that, you won't be able to do anything else. You won't be able to progress. So many people overlook the significance of being very specific here. So this is the difference between an ICP and a niche, right? But all the subtle details will profoundly influence your offer's components, from the time frame to the price to all the little details in between. So some questions you might ask would be demographics, sex, age, are they married, are they not, etc. Have they explored similar solutions to yours before, and what did those look like? What is their tech stack? Do they use a CRM? Do they use a project management tool, etc., etc.? What is the size of their business? All sorts. And each of these variations significantly impacts the resonance that your marketing message would have, and therefore the probability that it will succeed, the levels of client satisfaction, and ultimately how profitable your company can actually become. So serving both beginners and established business owners requires very different solutions. And I've seen this time and time again where people try and cast a wide net and it just doesn't work, because your service will resonate with one ICP, but it will completely fall flat with another. So this is why you need to initially dial down and be very specific in the beginning. So each different avatar or ICP demands, as I've said, a custom solution. You're serving the same person consistently allows for a streamlined and efficient process. So the analogy that I really like to run here with clients or prospects that I'm trying to explain this to is, imagine your business as a plane trying to take off on a runway, right? There's a lot of momentum, there's a lot of uplift and thrust that's required to get off the ground, right? And move in one direction. So if you have a specific ICP that you are serving over an extended period of time, you allow the plane to actually gain momentum, because the more and more clients of the same type that you sign on and deliver for, you will be able to find out over time what works and what doesn't for that specific ICP. What you then have is a positive feedback loop, and your marketing material, your marketing assets, and therefore the strength of your marketing message increases over time. If you keep signing on anyone and everyone, and then you have to do different things for different avatars, it's the equivalent of trying to change your runway, right? So you imagine trying to, the logistics and just the mechanics of trying to constantly change direction. If you're in a massive aircraft, it's just a nightmare, right? And that's why so many business owners move so slowly, because they're constantly distracted and they're constantly doing different things. Another personal example, I get a lot of agency owners below 10K per month wanting to work with me, and this is a distraction at the moment. It's an easy sale, but it's the woman in the red dress, as Hormozy would call it. It's just a distraction. And this is why sub-segmenting is so important. You must have different offers for different segments of your market, and then decide if that is what you want to do right now in the first place. Okay, so the next element of this, and remember, we're still on point 1 here. We're still on part 1 of 4, or who you're serving. What is your start point, right? Before moving forwards, you want to go back and re-identify the salient core desires of your ICP to make sure it checks out. And I urge you not to skip this. A lot of agency owners think, oh yeah, I've been there, done that. But a lot of the time you will find that you've missed a core kind of aspect of this process, and when you revisit it, you understand, okay, that's what I was missing. That's why my marketing message was falling flat. So essentially, we've defined our niche and our ICP now, right? Our different customer segments. What we now want to do is identify their most salient core desire. So every market has a pre-existing list of desires. They have many desires. But the goal with the direct response is to identify the most salient or most pertinent core desire. And this is something that is really well documented by Eugene Schwartz. You probably have heard of him. He's written Breakthrough Advertising, right? This book here, which is probably the most expensive book that I've ever bought. But I think this is probably the key thing that I've learned from that book, and alongside market sophistication levels, actually, which I'll explain in detail, in more detail than other videos out there on YouTube later on this training, and exactly why it's important as well. But yeah, this is the game. You want to identify the core, the salient, the most pressing, urgent issue of that particular ICP. Okay, so a great question or framework to adopt and to ask yourself is, if I were to ask every person in this market segment what they want, what specific thing would the vast majority of them say? So when we're creating offers, we're not trying to create desire in the market. So this is something that Schwartz talks about as well. We simply need to look at the market segment and find the pre-existing desires. You cannot create desire. You need to find desire that already exists. It's kind of entrepreneurship or problem solving 101. The problem already has to exist before the solution can exist, right? And then you want to ensure that we are presenting to that market our solution and effectively communicating to them that our solution is the best out there, the best choice, better, cheaper, faster. In other words, you want to optimize your service delivery around your market's pre-existing desires and instead you don't want to try and change the market's desires, because that's impossible. You can't do that. Which is why another quote that ties into this is, be stubborn with the vision, but flexible with the details, right? It's kind of like, if you want to build the best possible product or service for a particular niche, you might already have a specific skill set around this particular service, but the best business owners or the best service providers will acquire all the other skill sets that they then find out later are required to deliver the best service, as opposed to being stubborn and be like, no, I'm just offering this. I'm just doing this, because that's severely going to limit how much your business is going to be able to scale and how much of the market you'll be able to capture. So again, before moving forwards, this is another sort of sub-segment of the first point, right? Who we're targeting. You want to now conduct a TAM analysis. So you want to ensure your market is actually large enough. This is a crucial point when engineering go-to-market motions. And I found this when running cold email and outbound for clients of different types, different outbound channels. You want to make sure you actually have enough of a runway, right? So if you're a local business and your catchment area is local, there's only so much that your business is going to be able to scale. You really need to be able to, and this is obviously the advantage of having an online business, you want to be able to go global eventually, right? At least the majority of you are going to be English speaking predominantly. So any English speaking country should be fair game for your offer. And if that's the case, you will have a large enough TAM most of the time. But I want to go over this in a bit more detail. So there are two elements of conducting a TAM analysis. The first is absolute numbers, so the actual size of your market. So most of the time, for real success, you want at least a 30,000 strong TAM. If it's 100K or more, you probably need to narrow down your market a little bit through the ICP mechanism. So you might have a niche which is vast, which is great, but you want to narrow down your ICP into smaller chunks. So no more than 100 strong, because after that, your marketing message may not resonate and you're casting the net out too wide, essentially. Number two is a percentage of the market segment that is actually revenue qualified. So I call this your viable TAM, in other words, your ICP. So this is sort of the absolute numbers. This would be your niche. This and the subsegment of revenue qualified individuals or businesses would be your viable TAM or your ICP. So in B2B marketing, it matters how much money, obviously, your target avatars are actually making. There's not a problem in B2C as much. So if, for example, your market is over 30K, but only 5K is at a revenue level that can actually afford your product, then you need to expand your TAM by doing a couple of things. You might have to roll out a new offer, or you might have to start marketing to an adjacent niche or market. So there's an absolutely crucial point that I learned when running outbound campaigns for a multi-7-figure ads agency. So a quick example, ICP was coaches, consultants, course creators that were doing over 100K per month in revenue. And I was initially concerned because even though I knew that we would book a ton of appointments because they had, strong case studies, excellent service delivery, I knew that most of these appointments would probably not meet revenue qualifications. And at the time, I didn't understand what a viable TAM was. And I ended up being right. So after initial analysis, after booking a bunch of appointments, 80% of those appointments did not meet revenue criteria. Now, here's the thing. Those prospects were all actually viable closes, right? They were in the desired niche with the problem that my client had, and they were willing to pay them. The problem is when you don't understand how TAM actually works, your first conclusion here would be, oh, well, these appointments are not qualified. But the underlying issue here was that there was a ton of money being left on the table by not having something to actually offer or sell those prospects who didn't qualify for the main offer. And that is why you want to increase your TAM by actually releasing new offers into the market. That is when the time is right. When you actually have data that evidences that there are people that are willing to buy from you, but you don't have anything to offer them. And I mean, this was a more established agency as well. So if you're a beginner, you obviously don't want to be coming out the gate with lots of products. But if you're at a certain revenue level, that's the perfect time to roll out new products and offers and start to actually, you maybe market to an adjacent niche and so on and so forth. So there's an order that you would want to do these things in. And as a side note as well, outbound marketing is a phenomenal way to gather data quickly, right? Because it's also a very cheap way of doing so. It's just a great way for validating the need for your product or service. Another example here would be if you're targeting kids clothing e-com stores in the US, Canada, basically the big Western 5, you found there to be 150K, but only 15K of them were doing over 100K per month. You would probably need to either roll out a downsell or start marketing to an adjacent niche. So this is important of knowing your numbers and actually doing a proper TAM analysis, right? In a nutshell, TAM analyses are not actually that complicated. You can basically do it via Google search, searching the most popular B2B databases. So we're talking Apollo, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, specific databases like Store Leads or Brand Nav for e-commerce, things like that. You can also read industry reports. You can even buy these industry reports if you want to go above and beyond, which could be useful depending on what market you're at and kind of how deep you want to go, what your, if you really want to go above and beyond. Industry reports are great. So this is the game in my eyes. This is scaling 101, right? You can't create desire in the market, and thus, entrepreneurship is solving the problem where the problem already exists, and you're catering the solution based around the problem and not vice versa. You cater a general solution to your niche, but before you can actually scale, you need to be extremely clear on the sub-segment, i.e. your ICP, and the particular offers that you're going to be delivering to those sub-segments. You need to then ensure that there are actually enough people to target at scale. So if your viable TAM or ICP is not large enough, you then need to go ahead and roll out a new offer or start selling to an adjacent market. So you can see how everything is layering on top of each other and starting to make more and more sense, right? So now we're on to part 2. I don't think the rest of the other parts, by the way, are anywhere near as long as part 1, just so you know. But this is going to be, I think, a relatively lengthy video. But it's just because it's so important, right? Part 2, where are you taking them? So we've defined the starting point. Now we want to define the end point. So at the end of this stage, by the end of part 2, you essentially want to arrive at your core marketing message, right? Because we've determined the start point, and by the end of this, we will determine the end point. That will give you a much better idea of the transformation and how you can actually go about marketing your offer to those people. Right, exactly. So we need to know where we're going. A great mental model for this is if we could click our fingers and our client could get to the end destination or end ideal outcome instantly, what would that endpoint be? So a great way to do this is competitor analysis. A great way, to me, there are 6 core ways you can do this. I know there are more, but I think biggest bang for buck are these. So ad platforms, looking at Facebook or Meta ads library, VidTower, TubeSift for YouTube ads, website and landing pages, obviously, social media presence, whatever channel that might be, what kind of content are they putting out, customer reviews, testimonials, the aspects of the product or service itself, and you can even subscribe to their newsletters, so on and so forth. You should have a pretty good idea after doing that. The one thing I'd say is I would be mindful when doing this as a CEO or founder, because you don't want to copy and rehash other people's stuff. That's like the quickest way to become number 2 in a market, right? If you're always looking at what other people are doing, you always want to remain authentic. And this is one of the key lessons I personally learned from Hormozy himself. If you want to actually beat your competition, you don't want to be 2 steps behind. You want to do things your own way. So you can look at, for example, the YouTube, the titles and the tags that people are using, what content themes people are using, but never look at their content personally. Like I don't look at the content of someone's YouTube video. I just look at the title and be like, okay, that's a great topic to post content around for this niche. I look at the number of views they're getting and the number of likes or comments or engagement. I'm like, okay, this is a good topic to post on. But I don't care what they're posting, right? You should only be focused on what you're doing. So be very careful with competitor analysis. That's just my 2 cents, what I've personally learned. Yes, now we're at part 3, much quicker, obviously. So I think part 1 was quite a meaty one. Part 3, what is required to get them there? So start point, end point. Now we want to define the actual customer journey. The first thing I'll say is a world-class service-based business has all 3 elements of done for you, done with you, and DIY. A lot of people get really confused about, all these different terminologies, agency, growth partner, growth consultant, revenue accelerator, all these like quite stupid, naming mechanisms. It doesn't matter. Like a world-class agency offers all 3. A world-class consultant offers all 3. It's just, these are just delivery. These are modes of delivery. And it's not a question of which one should you be doing. It's a question of how can I implement all 3 in a way that maximizes end outcome for my client. So to map out your customer journey, again, this is a very short one as well. The main point with this particular part, so we're part 3, is activation points. Okay, so an activation point is what has to happen. What stages does your client or customer have to go through to go from start to end point? Activation points are great because they can actually be plugged into your project management tool as well. And this is a core element of systemizing your delivery, which is a topic for another day. I'll post another video on it. And once you map these out with clarity, you can better understand and pick apart the 2 components of engineering a world-class service, right? Which is the how of what you're going to do, which is part 4. So, for example, for my own B2B growth agency, whatever you want to call it, right? Terminology doesn't really matter. Activation point 1 would be, the client has a clear, concise, and compelling offer that differentiates the market, right? So this is going to be a core part of my training that I give to my clients, right? It's a done with you element, but obviously I'll be doing it for them as well. Going back to this point, never forget this. This is a key lesson that I've learned. Activation point 2, well, this might be the client has a scalable and profitable conversion mechanism for turning eyeballs into qualified booked appointments. So after we're talking about the offer and designing the growth strategy, the go-to-market, now we want to talk about the conversion mechanism, which essentially in this, for outbound traffic, we're talking about the dynamic VSL here, or DM funnel or pitch deck. We're talking about the conversion mechanism. Activation point 3 might be the client has a scalable and profitable lead gen mechanism for getting as many eyeballs as possible. This is a distribution mechanism. This is the outbound appointment booking system. It could be Twitter DMs, Insta DMs, cold email, doesn't matter, paid ads. And then what would number 4 be? Well, it could be the client is able to close cold traffic at KPI and is acquiring customers profitably from this acquisition channel. So that would be to do with sales, right? And so on. So I have a lot more activation points than this, but you can see how this is a great thing to also put in a project management tool, because it's like, okay, what stages has the client passed through? And this is really how you flesh out your customer journey in more detail. Okay, so number 4, I'm just going to grab some water again. Okay, so part 4, this is the how of everything. How are you going to make this happen? How are you going to actually deliver on this transformation? So this is defining your process. You could call it product development or service development, right? Or the mechanism, how your product or service enables your client to hit those activation points. So once the customer travels through all the activation points, they get to their desired state and the transformation is complete. The game then becomes, okay, how can we make this process better, faster, cheaper? And it's just a constant, cycle of getting better and better and better. Okay. And also I would add, how would you do this given the resources you have and the competence level you have right now? So that's basically the game. In very simple terms, I mean, this is product development. This is the reason why great companies always invest aggressively in R&D. Just a side note here as well, research and development. What you want to do is subscribe to either Miro or Lucidchart, which is a process diagramming, process mapping tool. You want to first map out which elements of your service can be done for you, done with you, or DIY. And like I said before, the best service businesses use all 3. I'm not going to go into detail here because I think this is really uncovering an entirely different aspect. We're talking more back-end service delivery systems here, but it's important to visualize all of this to actually be able to best market your message in the first place, market your offer in the first place on the front end, right? So for example, an example of what these might look like, these are activation points. I've got a YouTube organic agency here, advertising agency here, different activation points, start point, end point, start point, end point. And you can see here on the legend, we've got done for you, done with you, DIY. So that's the first stage. On a high level, you want to map out the different activation points, what aspects are going to be done for you, and which aspects have too much operational drag for them to be done for you. So it's better that we do it done with you. And for some stuff, it's better if the client just does it themselves, right? And understanding your business fulfillment and delivery is crucial because it allows you to really map out the transformation you're providing for your customer. And again, it's something you iterate on constantly. The more clients you take through this customer journey, this kind of client conveyor belt, so to speak, the better, the more data points you have to iterate and improve your product. That is literally what service or product development is in its highest level. If you want to go above and beyond, you can do something that's way more detailed, like what I've done here. I'll show you an example of this. I'm going to keep it zoomed out because I don't want people obviously copying this, but this is a Facebook ad system that we run, and you can see how much detail that I've gone into in the different stages and the different micro stages and which employees are doing what. This is what you ultimately want, and you want to have it for each core system or deliverable that you are delivering to your customer. So this is something that we help you with as well. And I think that is it for this part of the training. So now we're going on to marketing your offer. So essentially we've gone through the stages now of constructing your offer and the core pillars that are required. Okay, so for summary, after you determine who you're helping, where you're taking them to, what is required to get them there, right? So start point, end point, customer journey, and then the how of how you're going to make that happen, right? So you've got the Miro board out, you've got the Lucidchart out, and you've mapped out in detail your processes. This is just preliminary as well, because over time, you're always going to change. You're always going to iterate and improve on your product. But you have an idea now of how best you can market your offer on the front end and distribute that offer, okay? But like I said before we do this, we must understand market sophistication levels. This is huge. It's market sophistication. I've learned this, because everyone talks about, breakthrough advertising. Like, everyone needs to buy it. Everyone needs to read it. And people, some people, I'm sure, like out of everyone that talks about it, maybe 1% of people have actually read the book. But I'm pretty sure that barely anyone actually implements this stuff. And it's not one of these, oh yeah, I've heard of that, I know about that. because if you don't implement it, you're not actually going to be able to make money and through cold acquisition actually scale your business. So this is again something that I've cycled back to. I read it, didn't apply it, tried to do service delivery for my clients, and I thought, actually, well, I do need to learn this. So this is the best way. Just randomly zoomed in here. I'm just gonna, and we're back. I'm going to take you through the way in which I have learned this and processed it myself. Again, I'm not, instead of just rehashing just a random YouTube video or whatever, this is how I best understand market sophistication and how it's helped me engineer better go-to-market motions and run offers to cold traffic. So the first stage of sophistication is you're essentially first to market. It's a blue ocean, right? And all you need to do here is we provide this solution. We solve this problem. Here I am. This is us. We do this. You don't need anything else in your marketing, literally. So the equivalent of this would be starting an SMMA, social media marketing agency, back when Stephen Bartlett did it 14, 15 years ago. Who's Stephen Bartlett? He's a British entrepreneur. He basically sold his first company for 300 mil. It ended up going public. And, he's also like one of the youngest dragons or something, which is the equivalent of a Shark Tank for you guys in the US. I mean, digital marketing is obviously still relevant, very incredibly relevant, but you just need more novel ways and more sophisticated ways now of delivering and marketing your offer. So what this message would have looked like back then is, we'll get your business message online. We'll run Facebook ads for you. We'll generate leads through social media for you. That was literally all that was needed in order to advertise that kind of business back then. Level 2 is, okay, you're second to market now. And when I say second to market, I mean there are multiple people. It's not just you. You are collectively second to market. You're not the first one there. So now customers are more inquisitive about, okay, tell me a little bit more about what this actually is. So you need to actually explain more about what your offer is. And this is where competition starts outbidding each other. So, okay, so we'll actually, so how are we going to generate leads for you through social media? Well, we'll actually generate you 20 sales calls per month guaranteed. And then the competition comes out saying we'll do 40, we'll do 60, and so on. So it's just a case of making the claim bolder. Level 3 is the market is getting more used to all these claims out there. So they've sort of become a little jaded. They know that people are pretty much saying the same stuff. And this is where a unique mechanism is required for you to stand out. So you're giving them just a little bit more information now than you had to before about how your process is different. And then you tie that back to the claim. So for example, we'll generate you 20 sales calls per month guaranteed through cold email, through mass Facebook DMs, through mass Twitter DMs. Tried LinkedIn outreach, didn't work for me. Yeah, but have you tried Facebook DMs? So this is sort of level 3 in my opinion. Prospects are a bit more curious about the how versus just the what. They want to be educated. How does this work? What makes a service different from competitors? How can I actually make an informed decision? So this is interestingly where asset-based selling enters the game, right? This is why you've seen a lot of people on Twitter and LinkedIn come out with, it's all about asset-based selling. It's all about sales enablement assets. The fact is, sales enablement assets have always existed since the dawn of time. It's just that they only become relevant when a market has reached a certain level of sophistication, which is level 3, right? Prospects want to be educated a little bit more about how you do this, right? So this is where, for example, a VSL, particularly long-form VSLs that explain your process, and a VSL that's done very well is a very powerful differentiating tool when it comes to marketing yourself and labeling yourself as superior from your competition. Now, stage 4, okay, market is getting even more competitive. What's happening here is people are spoilt for choice. There's kind of too many options. This is where you get responses like, dude, I've had the same message, by 20 people, or literally 100 people have pitched me the same thing in the last 60 days. Okay, so the game here is you don't just need to be a little bit better than your competition. You need to be so easily distinguishable as superior that people can, in an instant, be like, okay, I want to go with these guys. Okay. And I believe truly that this is where most marketing agencies are at right now. We're at a stage 4 level of sophistication, right? Which means you just need to be much better than you used to be able to get away with to actually be able to scale a marketing agency, right? But the trick is you need to be able to do so to be able to distinguish yourself as being superior whilst also being believable, right? It still needs to be a significant transformation that you're giving, but you also need to be believable. For example, if you come out saying, I can book you 500 appointments in the next 30 days, no one's going to believe you. Okay, and the way you do this is by elaborating on the mechanism versus elaborating on the offer or the claim. I'll give you a great example right now for the agency space. Okay, this whole wave of selling infrastructures or system-based offers, right? Build and release. This is a positioning play, but what's actually happening is that it is a core, at its core, it's an elaboration of a unique mechanism. So this is literally it's an indicator of a stage 4 level of sophistication in the agency space. What does this look like? If you've not seen it before, I will build you a cold email system in-house. I will install a done-for-you content system in-house for you, into your business. We will install a YouTube ad system into your business in-house. This is, you can see why this is a superior offer compared to a traditional type of agency, because this whole wave of, agency owners have realized having things in-house that you can control is far better than having an agency do it for you, because if something happens to that agency, the owner falls sick, that agency goes underwater, your entire could be your lead source, that whole thing just dies out, and you've literally back to ground zero overnight. So the value of having an in-house system is so valuable, right? And it's literally the same service. It's the same service, but it's positioned differently. There might be a few tweaks on the back end in terms of the deliverables, but it's essentially the same thing. But the marketing has changed. The marketing, and you can appreciate why marketing is fluid, right? The process of selling as well. It's fluid and it's dynamic. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving. And one of the key things that precipitates that change is market sophistication. So I can tell you for a fact that outbound metrics are better for this type of messaging. And agency owners who sell the system-based positioning are ahead of the game, right? So straight away, if you're watching this and you're not selling a system, it's a great way to evolve your offer and get more traction. So most agencies are at this stage, not all, but most. Another great offer is, AI chatbots that actually work. So this is doing well right now because most people don't know how to use AI to make money. Everyone knows about ChatGPT, but most people don't know how to use AI to actually make legitimate money for other businesses. So AI chatbots are definitely a great offer to be rolling out in a level 4 sophistication market right now. We're talking in 2024 because you're able to clearly distinguish yourself with this mechanism from other agencies. And what is level 5? Level 5, very interesting insights here as well. This is hard mode, right? So people are used to seeing this offer so much that they have a very, very short attention span when they see any type of ad or outreach with this that makes this sort of promise. It's not that they don't have the problem you solve, because remember, markets always have problems. There's never a scenario where all the problems a market has are solved overnight. It's never the case. This is why saturation is a temporary phenomenon. It's never an excuse as to why you shouldn't get into business in that market. Problems always exist. It's just a lack of trust because they have been habituated to the stimulus. They have seen the same stimulus so many times that they are just numb to it. Okay, and they don't trust you. So should you give up if your market has reached level 5? This is a great question. I think if you're a beginner, yes. Unless you're coming to the market with significant funding and a novel product or service that clearly disrupts, you do not want to be entering a level 5 market. But if you're already established, that's great. And that you can more than easily carve out market share. You just need to simply focus on being known. Okay. And what I mean by that is essentially branding. I'll get onto branding in a second. If you're less known, you need to frame yourself as 10x better than your competition. So not just a little bit better or easily distinguishable, but literally like this, you need to crush your competition, right? So there's two parts to a level 5 sophistication, which I'm going to talk about. If you want to crush your competition, you need more resources, capital, network behind you most of the time to make that happen. You literally need to crush your competition. The main way to stand out is through identification with the prospect versus the claim itself. And this is where branding comes in, like I said. You want to think about who you're serving and carve out a niche as being the type of company that works only with those types of people. You do this through branding. It's not just what content you're posting, it's how you're posting it, right? So, okay, let's talk about branding now. Branding and in particular, feeding outbound traffic to your brand. So organic media increases the efficiency of paid media or outbound and vice versa. This is such an important understanding. If you're sending 5,000 cold emails per day and gaining impressions on your organic content, the outbound machine is heavily feeding into your inbound machine. You absolutely need both at this level of sophistication if you want to scale. Because again, what's the problem with inbound and brand? Lead flow, deal flow is unpredictable on the front end. This is why you need outbound. But obviously outbound and a stage 5 level of sophistication is not really going to get you anywhere without having inbound. So this is why it is imperative to grow your brand first and foremost as the founder of any company, right? Every company in 2024 going forward, and really pretty much since the last 10 years, to be honest, since the dawn of, even before that, since the dawn of the internet, you are first and foremost a media company before anything else. If you grow your personal brand by proxy, your company brand will grow because people relate to faces versus institutions. People relate to other people. Best way to grow a company is to grow the founder's personal brand. And it's basically like a Siamese twin situation here. You need to essentially become known in your industry. And I believe that the end game of scaling a B2B service-based business, for example, to multiple 8 figures in a more saturated niche, so for example, the marketing agency niche, in this digital economy is to always rely heavily on the founder's personal brand. But do not make the mistake of thinking branding alone will get you there, because it won't. So this is where outbound, you need a really strong outbound machine. You need to be, those two things need to be feeding into each other. And number 2, the second point of what I wanted to cover, branding is the way you stand out in stage 5. The second is just, especially for service-based businesses, having an unmatched skill set. So this begins with the founder and extends to the team. So we're back to fundamentals of business here. Client results obviously matter the most. The better the transformations you can get for your clients, the better your case studies and testimonials, the stronger your marketing system will be, provided you know how to actually leverage case studies and so on and so forth. This can only be done by having a complete skill set. So the stronger your personal skill set as the founder, the greater skill set of the team that you will be able to galvanize, right? Because you're the one that's leading them. So this, combined with a strong outbound machine, is how you succeed in sophistication stage 5. But I want to labor on the fact that you need to be an established business owner already if you're entering stage 5 sophistication. So honestly, this is my very quick 2 cents. 5 to 10 years from now, if you as a beginner are trying to run just a basic bones SMMA service as a beginner, you'll never make it. But if you're an established business, you will always you'll always be able to find a way, no matter what the sophistication level is. And I'll talk about this at the end as well, but sophistication levels always cycle back, right? So there's always a new kind of sub-segment, a new market that opens up, which I'll get to in a second. But back to skill set. I'll give you another great example. B2B lead gen services, specifically for the agency niche. I would still say that, like most agency services, this is a level 4 sophistication, market level sophistication, because there are unique mechanisms that are working really, really well right now, but it is headed to stage 5 for sure. Does that mean you can't make money? Absolutely not. Your skill stack simply needs to be much greater. And that's basically why you see a lot of people frame themselves as growth consultants or basically going full stack, because it's an easy way to differentiate yourself, and you do need a better skill set than just the guys running lead gen, right? Just if you're just delivering appointments to a level 4 sophistication market, you're going to struggle. So you need to offer complementary services. We call this vertical scaling, which goes beyond the scope of this video. There's so much that layers on top of this, which is why I love this this whole kind of concept in general. So yeah, I mean, my personal play, I don't want to be offering lead gen services, right? What I'm doing is offering sales training, offer training, back-end systems. The whole emphasis is on scaling businesses versus just providing with leads and book calls. You can see the game here. If you're a local lead gen agency, for example, as well, you don't want to be leading with, I can get you X appointments per month alone in a stage 4 or 5 sophisticated market. It's going to be pretty difficult for you. And you're going to struggle to make any type of money at all, because you might be able to force a few deals with outreach at scale, but it's not a business that will last. Okay. So this is why understanding of market sophistication is so, so important. And like I said, I'm going to wrap up here. Market sophistication always cycles from 1 to 5 through back to 1. New strategies, better methods for solving the problem will always appear. So in the B2B space, outbound at scale using AI and automation is a perfect example for this, right? So most niches, cold email will get you clients far, far cheaper than paid ads ever will. But at a certain point, starting a cold email service will fail to be as effective because the market has gotten more sophisticated. So if you're running cold email back in 2021, this is, it was a fantastic service to be offering. It's much harder now, depending on what niche you're serving. And the market just literally just cycles like this, right? And this is all, it comes down to businesses will always need leads, always need marketing services. This is a constant. But the way in which those problems are solved evolves throughout time. New, better, faster, cheaper ways of solving a market's problem at any given time will always appear, right? Especially with AI coming out now, there's always going to be new mechanisms, always going to be new strategies that are just 10x more effective. And we're seeing this already, okay? Those closest to the source will profit by the greatest margin. And that's basically the game. Okay, now the magic happens. We've understood market sophistication, right? For almost all B2B service-based businesses right now, your offer or claim is going to look something like this. You guarantee to get your target avatar as far along as humanly possible to the end outcome that you've identified in the near future, so a 3 to 6 month time frame, without the customer experiencing X salience core pain point, using the current resources and your best level of competence that you have. Plus or minus additional elaboration on a claim or mechanism, depending on your level of market sophistication, or they get their money back. I know it's a mouthful, but this is basically like the what I've concluded, and in my own words, like this is what you want to be going for, especially as a marketing agency owner. The above sentence depicts the makeup of the strongest direct response offer you can roll out as a service-based business. In other words, your tagline is basically going to be something like this, okay? We help ICP go from current situation to desired situation using mechanism, which is obviously dependent on what level of market sophistication you're at, in time frame, without salient pain point, and we guarantee results or you don't pay, right? You need a guarantee. I'll talk about guarantees in a second. And this is the sort of infamous value equation that Alex Hormozy talks about optimizing for clients. We want the client to have as big a dream outcome as possible, and we want to communicate to them that the perceived likelihood of achievement of that is as great as possible, and we want to minimize the time delay and the effort and sacrifice involved on their part. And that is the whole value equation. If you want to learn about that in more detail, just go to his website and he's got a free course on it. Practical advice here. I would say keep it simple, because the most skilled marketers think of all this stuff, but then present it in a way that's painfully simple and obvious. And a litmus test for this is, if you were to tell a 12-year-old your offer, would they understand it? If not, it's probably not direct response ready, and it's definitely not cold friendly, because remember, cold people on, if you're marketing to cold traffic, they're absolute savages. They don't give you literally 2 seconds. That's why it needs to be simple. So this is, nobody wants to think. People are like dopamine addicted monkeys scrolling through social media or their emails. Simplicity is everything in direct response. And that's the art of it. Taking something complex on the back end and painting it in a picture that's appealing enough for a customer to want to learn more, but in a simplest way possible. This is the art of scaling your business to cold traffic, and you have to face the fact that your offer might be too complex and might not make sense to the target ICP, which is why going back to the fundamentals is everything. I found this to be so true in the agency space. If you don't have the humility to go back and rework your offer and even rebuild it from the ground up using the stuff available in this document, for example, you'll never be able to scale your business. So this is where ego can get in your way as well, right? Let's talk about guarantees and risk reversal quickly, and why it is worth it, and then why you do want to be implementing guarantees. So the core premise of risk reversal is that from a business mechanics point of view, the rate of new client acquisition increases at a disproportional rate compared to the extra refunds you might accrue, right? So the benefits of having a refund are you'll get like an extra 10 clients every month, but you might churn an additional 1 or 2 clients than you otherwise might have. But the net outcome is so heavily in your favor that it's worth it, right? So these are the sort of the numbers, the metrics, the industry standards. I'm not going to get into guarantees in too much detail, but you have different types of guarantees, different strengths. Unconditional, conditional guarantees will work with you for free. No questions asked, money back guarantee. Pro tips: if you're hesitant about offering a guarantee, and this worked really well for me as well, play out the worst case scenario in your mind. And a quote that I love here from Seneca, I believe, is, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. So we catastrophize, and we're like, what if I offer this crazy guarantee and I don't deliver? Nothing's going to happen, right? If you actually do your best and provide world-class customer service, and you get your client, a decent way to that end outcome, but you didn't quite meet the end outcome guarantee, just refund them. That's it. If you actually refund them and you're honest and you maintain integrity, it's impossible that you will burn your brand. It's just a irrational fear that we have. So that's point one. And the second thing about guarantees that I personally learned is you need to make yourself a little nervous when you offer a guarantee, right? If you don't have a dominant enough offer in this market, especially a sophisticated market, you will never be able to outdo your competition. So it has to be like he's promising a lot. And then when you actually deliver on the back end, at least to a good extent, whilst maintaining integrity, honesty, and delivering a great customer service, your client will always be happy, and they'll always retain you. So it's just as simple as that. And the other thing is, if you make a claim like that, if you value your reputation, you will always put your 100% in, and you will always deliver to some extent, right? And the other question is, what if clients take advantage of me? And that's it's part of the game. Very few people will do that, and if you are one of the unfortunate ones where that happens to you, just move on. And the experience you gained and the learning lessons you gained will help you in the future. So benefit of thinking long term as well. Contract stipulations is a big one. Obviously, when you're offering a guarantee, you need to protect yourself. You can add stipulations. For example, for my service or any lead gen service in general, you might say to the client, well, if we guarantee this, you want to be able to take sales calls. You have to take sales calls as a founder yourself. People love to bat this off, but that's another topic for another day. You want to dial all the leads within 30 minutes. I mean, that's probably a bit harsh. Probably something like 4 hours is more realistic. Record all your sales calls. Tell us the immediate outcome of your sales calls by end of day latest. Provide access to our CRM, so on and so forth. Okay. But I just want to add very quickly with all of this that this sounds great in theory, but take it with a pinch of salt when it comes to stipulations, because most people just won't ask you for refunds, especially if you've given it your all, gotten them results, at least, to a fair extent, and given them stellar customer service, right? And most people who do want their money back, they won't let an agreement get in the way, if that makes sense. So I would personally keep stipulations pretty simple and over communicate them instead at every stage of your customer journey. So this all comes down to what I said about all the best businesses having a done for you, done with you, and DIY element to their service delivery. Because if you have a DIY aspect to it, for example, this Notion document with my own delivery, and you're constantly consulting and communicating with your clients, that this point is really kind of heavily reinforced, and you'll be able to spot a bad client from a mile off and fire them early. So it should never really be an issue. And I don't think contract stipulations in particular will help you as much as actually the process of delivering a world-class customer service. So how do we practically convey everything that we've talked about in this document, in this training? And there's a lot to unpack here again as well, but essentially we want to target the top end of your market with your best offer. This is kind of what you want to do with direct response. In other words, we don't want to tailor your core message to each individual ICP if you're a small business. This only becomes relevant when you're a larger company. So what we want to do is think about the end outcome that you can get for your ideal top of the market client. Essentially, this is a hyper qualified client. So you're essentially your dream client. What is the best result that you can get with the current resources and level of competence you have for your dream client? So the dream client might be someone who follows instructions and actually gets things done. And for example, actually reads and consumes training like this, has the marketing and the ad budget, calls leads immediately, takes responsibility for sales calls before hiring it out, or trying to hire a commission-based closer from a placement company. And delegating that off too soon, getting creatives and assets to you in time, replying to your messages promptly, all these things. The idea behind this is simple. I found that when you lead with your best offer targeted at your dream client, the lower end of the market also want the same thing. So if you target the top end, the middle and the bottom end of the market will also want that offer, okay, near enough. But if you do the reverse, and only target the lower end of the market, you immediately disqualify the best clients. And you absolutely do not want to be doing that. So this is how I found you get the largest volume of leads whilst preserving quality. And it's true for pretty much any outbound marketing channel. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're sending cold emails, Twitter outreach, LinkedIn outreach, you're running ads. It's always best to, and I've tested this with different scripts, different outreach channels. It's always the same thing. You want to lead with the best offer for the best client, and everyone else will still be attracted to that offer. But I want to talk about how to actually implement this on the back end, because what you don't want to be doing is doing a bait and switch. That's unethical and that's wrong, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Yes, well, I've tested this over hundreds of thousands of pieces of outreach, right? So obviously, it goes without saying that a lot of these leads won't qualify for your main offer, but that's kind of the point, right? Remember what we said in the beginning. You should be closing anyone that is in your niche, has the problem you solve, has the money to pay you. And this is why, in my opinion, especially for a sophisticated market like agency services, a core downsell offer is non-negotiable at this point. So here's what you do if a prospect clearly does not meet the criteria for your main offer. You need to have something to actually sell them that is almost identical to your main service, but just offers a little bit less. I.e., you're catering to someone who has a less of a budget, but would be happier with a smaller transformation of the big claim that you've presented in your ad or your outreach. Yeah, and this will realistically happen, right? People will look at a great outreach message that contains a great offer and a great ad that contains a great offer, and you'll get plenty of people booking in that just won't meet the criteria. That's normal. That's, people get confused and say, oh yeah, something's wrong with the appointment booking system, we're not qualifying. No, that's literally just how the market works. You need to cater your solution to the market by understanding that there are different modalities of delivery, right? done for you, done with you, DIY, different levels of done for you as well. This is all just kind of scaling mechanics 101. So I'll get into the sales call in a second. Your job on the sales call then becomes to help them reach the conclusion very clearly that they don't meet the criteria for the main offer because of XYZ, but you absolutely can help them with your downsell. You might think that this is an unqualified prospect again, but actually they are qualified because they are in your niche, they have a problem you solve, and they do have the funds to pay you. They just aren't your dream client. This is such an important thing and concept that so many service-based businesses don't understand, right? For example, let's say your dream client is someone doing 250K per month and above, right? Let's say an e-commerce store or whatever, but you get on a call with someone doing 70K per month wanting your offer. You don't just turn that person away and not make money from them, right? Provided you can actually help them, which you should be able to, you should close that client. And if you're unable to close that client, it means something's wrong with your delivery. You need to improve your product or your service to actually cater to these types of people. And it is so easy to cater to that person, but just offer less of a guarantee and charge them less than your main offer. As simple as that. So simple. But now let's look at how to actually frame this on the sales calls. There's a last part of this training. To be fair, the video is not as long as I thought it'd be. So there we go. Before I go on to the sales call training, I have learned that marketing and sales are fluid and dynamic. You don't create an offer, then forget about it. You constantly update it as you get feedback from the market. And it's all about feedback loops. So the faster your feedback loops, the faster you can scale as a company, right? And this is where the whole process of the dynamic sales letter comes in, or the dynamic conversion mechanism. Because the core sales argument of your business, the reason for existing, it is dynamic. I.e., marketing sales are dynamic concepts and should be constantly iterated upon. This is a key thing that I've learned personally. So let's go back, and this is the final part of the training. How do you actually present this and offer this on a sales call? This is a short, shouldn't take too long at all. So we've identified the core offer. We've constructed an offer from the ground up and the downsell, and we've essentially engineered a viable go-to-market strategy from scratch in detail, understanding key concepts like market sophistication, taking them into account, guarantees, stipulations, all of that, ICPs, and the importance of segmenting, sub-segmenting a niche down into actual ideal client personas or customer personas. So what does this look like? And I'm not going to go into an in-depth sales training. You can see here for clients, I've got this in a separate stage of the my Notion database. We're talking about actually how to present this particular offer. We're not going to talk about closing or objection handling or any of that. So what you need in order for this to work is, one, you need to have a clearly defined offer downsell in the first place. A prospect will never close if this is vague and you have no guarantee attached to it. It has to be something that prospect still wants. So don't think that you can just turn up and sell something random, like, oh, okay, you don't meet the criteria for our main offer, no worry, we've got this, we can do that. That's not. You need to have this set in stone and clearly documented and clearly mapped out before you can even think about selling it. So that's the first thing. And then you obviously need to be able to explain logically why they are not a fit for your main offer. So as you know, we want to be conservative with our numbers. This has been a long video. This is essentially like a quote of something, what you might say for a lead gen service, local or B2B, right? So as you know, we always want to be conservative with our numbers when offering guarantees. So in order for us to get you 50 sales calls per month at $200 per booked call, for example, which would be very conservative, we would need 10K in ad spend, or we would need a 5K to set up your cold email system, something like this. This would be around $300 to $400 per day in ad spend, for example, if you are running ads. As we discussed, your budget wasn't quite at this mark, yet considering your revenue level. So here's what we can do instead. And then you go into pitching the downsell. Very simply, no waffle. You want your main offer to be 1.5 to 2 times that of your downsell. It's very simple. And And yeah, this is the last thing that I wanted to end this video with. Unethical practices in general is something you want to avoid. I talked about copying people's content, rehashing people's content. That's not what I want from this channel. I don't really care if I even grow at a slower rate. One of the best lessons I've ever learned from Hormozi, who's like, a massive figure in the space, is you want to remain true to yourself, authentic to yourself, and just post what you like, as long as it's valuable content to your target audience, which I'm catering towards established agencies who want to get to the next level. People are going to eventually discover your channel, right? You don't want to get clout in the wrong way. You don't want to post, shitty, watered down content of your competitors. In the same way, you don't want to be doing things like this. You don't want to be baiting and switching prospects, right? Where you make an outrageous claim on your ad or your outreach message, and then you don't actually have anything to sell them on the call. So, in other words, if you're advertising something, a prospect that takes a call should be able to purchase that thing that you advertised if they have the budget. But in many cases, of course, like we mentioned, prospects won't meet revenue qualifications. That's completely fine. You say you don't actually meet the criteria for this main offer, but we can offer you, something which gets you a similar result, just not quite as much. And I think that's more suitable for your budget. That is not a bait and switch, because a prospect can buy something they can buy the full offer that you pitched. So that is a difference between a bait and switch and essentially having a core downsell. Okay. As I said, most people will take your downsell over the main offer. This is due to simple math. So I think a lot of agency owners have I only want to work with these clients, but they don't understand the supply and demand or the maths of the market, which is, if you're wanting to only work with, multi-seven figure business owners, those people are few and far between. The types of people that can even build those types of businesses are few and far between, right? And you're never going to be able to scale a business unless you increase your TAM and actually serve the mid to lower end of the market. So this is the game. I hope you enjoy this. Actually, not as long of a video as I thought. This was how to engineer a go-to-market strategy from scratch, scale a business by leveraging outbound marketing systems, and of course to leverage outbound marketing and real AI and automation leveraged outbound systems or paid ad systems. You need to get the offer or the core sales argument of your business correct in the first place. And I mean, again, I can't tell you because I don't look so much at my competitors who offer similar services, but I'm pretty sure this is probably way more detailed than the majority of the training out there on offers. Like, I've tried to do this thing where, in my own words, everything that I've learnt by being in the trenches, by mentors, both online, free, paid, in real life, reading these kind of original texts, the way that I can best explain it and how you can apply this today to actually scale a service-based business and capture as much market share as possible, particularly if you're a marketing agency, which I have a bit more in-depth expertise on because I've actually worked inside one and I've worked with most of my clients are marketing agencies. So hope you enjoy this, guys. I probably will post the full video, but really this was intended as a training for clients. But yeah, have a good one. Subscribe, and if you want to see more kind of videos, raw and sort of unedited like this, that are going into as much detail and as possible as I document my way into this sort of kind of growth consulting journey, then do follow along. I'm going to be posting a lot more videos about how to read financial statements and operational kind of bottlenecks, stuff like that. Kind of stuff that I like to talk about, and also is very valuable stuff, I think, for agency owners, as opposed to just basic, here's a guide on Apollo. Like, I don't want to post that content. I don't think you care to see it either. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just haven't done my market research. But yeah, thanks guys. Subscribe, share the video, and all the good stuff. And I'll see you next time.